Good morning, folks. Well, we're well on the way to getting the engine installed in the camper now at this stage. I did a lot of work behind the scenes, so I'm going to update you on my progress here now. One of the things I did was I actually installed the engine cradle bars and gearbox front mount, and put in the MAF sensor and the air inlet, the air filter and the ECU. But one of the big things I did, now it looks like I've skipped ahead a lot behind the scenes, but in actual fact I haven't really. It was just a lot of pulling and dragging and that. So let's have a quick look and see what we're dealing with here. You'll see now there's now no engine on the crane, it's underneath here. So up until this point I now have the gearbox front mount attached, so that's on. For those of you playing along at home, the gearbox front mount needs to be rebolted onto the set of holes to the right of where it would normally be on a diesel engine. But so it's just a case of really running a tap through those holes, because obviously they were full of underseal and dirt and everything like that. So that's fine. So now that's on. I swapped over the shaft adapters because I think I may have mentioned in the previous video I had those two shaft adapters on the wrong sides, so they're on the right side now. ECU is mounted in there, as is the air filter. You can actually see it in through where the rear light goes. So that's our MAF sensor, that's our air filter, and the ECU is in behind it. So yeah, the next thing basically to do is, you'll see here's the cradle bars, okay, and they're ground back, and there's the mounts that are actually going to be welded onto these here. Actually put in, they're bolted onto the engine mounts here. So basically what that means is I'm going to offer this engine up to the position it's going to be sitting at, and I'm going to actually weld this in situ onto this, and that's how we're going to actually attach this engine in. It sounds easier than it is. It might be a bit difficult to get access to the one over there, but we'll figure it out. And also as well too, my welding is not exactly fantastic, but if I am not happy with the way it turns out, I'll grind it back and do it again. So there's no problem there anyway. Anyway, let's press on and get a bit done here. Right, so one of the things that I actually have been struggling with getting the engine lined up and getting it into position is the fact that because it sits 50 degrees over on its side, it doesn't really want to lift up straight into the engine bay. I mean, it's not supposed to anyway. So what I've done is I've actually put two straps on it. One goes down to the engine mount on this side, and the other one goes down to the engine mount on this side. It doesn't look like it's in, but that's actually it's well in there in the hook. The strap is nice and wide, so it's a bit of weight in that there now anyway. So it's actually lifted up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lift the engine high enough so that engine mount there is lined up here. So it's actually in the right position more or less there now. And that engine mount is lifted up into position there. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that nothing is getting pinched or fouled or anything like that as we do it. So we need to take our time here. So what I'll do is I'll set the camera up on a tripod and you can observe from a distance. Okay, so one of the things I will be most certainly doing this time around is I'll be taking my bloody time, because I do not want a repeat incident of what happened the last time. I got away with it that time. I might not be so lucky this time. Unfortunately, I'm working on my own today because Decky isn't able to come over. We're all on a COVID-19 lockdown here in Ireland at the moment, so I won't be venturing outside my driveway. I'll be playing the dutiful citizen. So you know, we all have to do our bit. But yeah, I mean, this is my driveway. I'm not actually. I haven't even left the house to do this. So yeah. Anyway, let's get that engine into position first of all, and we will start looking at welding on the mounts. You can kind of see the mounts on either side there. If you actually just from this point here, if you see there, so that's one of them. It has to go up onto the cradle bar on that side, and then just the corresponding one on the other side is over there, and that has to go up onto the cradle bar on that side. So because of the fact that we actually have got our gearbox front mount in place, that sets our forward and back position. So that's actually already done. There's a bolt in, but there's no nut on it. I actually have to go in and put a nut on that. Might do that first before we do anything else. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. Before anybody asks, 13 amps, right? But unwound. It's only 720 watts wound, so we have to unwind it. Okay, so what I ended up doing was actually taking one of the cradle bars off because I just couldn't get a decent weld on it, partly because I'm shit at welding. But to be honest with you, I'm happy enough with that at this stage. There is good penetration. I've given it a couple of clatters with a lump hammer. That's not going anywhere. Okay, it's not the tidiest job in the world, but it'll be safe, and that's the important thing in this instance. This is not supposed to be see, that's where it looks pretty rough, but that's part of the stuff I did on the van. So I went over it again, and it's good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bolt that engine cradle bar back on. That's the one from the right hand side. And bolt that back on, and I'm going to take the one off on the left hand side, and I'm going to go over it again just to make 100% sure that they're not going anywhere, because you cannot have them coming loose. Exciting times, folks. The engine is in. Happy days. Right, so that's it in its final resting position anyway, and there's a lot to do. We have to make some room for all the stuff that's down here. That duct is obviously not going to be able to stay there. That's going to have to move around to there, and I think I was told about that actually at some point or another, but now me being the stubborn type, I had to see for myself. Fuel lines, coolant pipes, electronics. Oh, the electronics. And we have to connect all of that gear in up in there. The intercooler needs to be finished off. It's in there anyway, you can just about see it underneath there. Anyway, take my word for it. You've seen where it is before anyway. So, yeah, I mean, those engine mounts didn't turn out too bad, did they? It should be alright. That looks a bit worse. And that's because it is in situ and hashtag shit at welding.com or whatever the hell you want to say. Anyway, look at let's continue on. I have a list of jobs to do on my phone, a checklist basically. First thing I want to do is I want to go underneath now. I did put the nut on the front gearbox mount, but I have to tighten it now, so that's what I'm going to do next, and I can check that off my list. Then I'm going to connect the accelerator cable, the fuel pipes. Accelerator cable is here, and let's have a quick look and see how well that reaches over. Not very well at all. See, things just keep on happening, so that should really be up here somewhere. So I have to have a think about that. Anyway, look, that's another job to be done. That's the old fuel return. The new fuel return has a banjo fitting that goes on there, so put that on. What I want to do is by the end of today I want to at least have it starting in the van, and once I have that bit done, then I'm happy that I'm really making progress. Well, I am happy anyway, but you know what I mean. Okay, so the observant of you will notice that the engine bay is looking an awful lot tidier now at the moment. The simple reason for that is because I had to pull all the wiring harness back out of it because it just wasn't working where it was. So we're going to have to rethink that. In the meantime though, I have actually made a lot of progress here because I now have the inlet ducting and the ducting to and from the intercooler all sorted out. So you can see our air filter and MAF sensor there. They go off to the original elbow fitting here. And then we've our crankcase breather going over to here, and it comes down to the turbo underneath. So that's this lad here, and we made up a joiner there, and it goes onto that kind of cranked piece there and into the turbo inlet. Then the turbo outlet comes from here and goes via a silicone duct up along there. And actually, just having a look at the turbo, by the way, what I had to do as well too was rotate the compressor plenum 90 degrees as well too. So that meant actually unbolting the compressor plenum altogether and rotating the bolts, basically taking the bolts out altogether, rotating it and bolting it back in again in another position. So that's done now anyway. So now that that duct goes off up there and comes up behind here. I took a section out of the bulkhead here to make room for the ducting. I will dress it up. I know there's a bit of grinder rash there, but it'll be sorted out. It's not structural anyway. And you'll see it goes onto the intercooler there. So the outlet from the intercooler is over this side, comes onto an elbow fitting here, across to here, and into a single piece of plastic ducting. And the reason that plastic ducting is there is because the inlet air temperature probe goes there, and that is the mass air pressure takeoff, and that'll go over to the ECU. So we need to put a new piece of pipe on that obviously, and then we come around here and then we're into our inlet manifold. So yeah, I'm delighted with that anyway, so that's great. So the next problem I have to sort out is the accelerator cable, because my understanding was that the throttle position sensor would go there, right? Only not. So the cable is too short. What I might be able to do though is I might be able to reroute the cable, because I'm just looking in there. That comes up over here, and then it's supposed to go over to here where the injection pump is. But there is a nice little hole there which the grommet should go into, and we'll put a grommet in that and pass our accelerator cable through that. So let's try that and see if we can get that on. So yeah, okay, that's Rodney in the background having a bit of a chat with us. You have to love a simple solution to a problem. There we go. All we had to do was just pass the cable in through through a different hole in the bulkhead, and there was more than enough slack to bring it over to here. So that is now connected. What I had to do is I just had to take the nut off there and turn this around so the cable wasn't over tight. So that's sitting there nicely anyway. It's just a little bit of slack on it, which is perfect. And yeah, I think what I'll be doing at some stage is putting a new accelerator cable in the van anyway, but for the moment that'll do absolutely fine. Next thing I think I might do is I might connect up the fuel. So yeah, let's do that. One of the little things that you kind of forget about, but you have to deal with as well too, is the dipstick. And this is it here. So you'll see here this part with the kind of splines on it are that's the bit that was in the engine originally, and it is 10mm in diameter, and this is the original dipstick from the JX engine, and it is 8mm in diameter. So what I was able to do is I was able to get an 8mm drill, and first of all I cut the rest of this dipstick off. I drilled this out to 8mm, and I was able to pass the old dipstick through the new dipstick piece here, and I just put a snot of weld on either side of it, and I'm going to just dress that up, and we'll be able to fit that. So handy enough. Next thing is I'm going to just bring it over to the bench grinder and just take off that rough weld. Okay, so the dipstick is in now. What I'll do is I'll actually just put a cable tie around there. It'll be absolutely fine. It's not going anywhere. Like, that's rigidly mounted down in the other end of the down in the case down there, and I actually put a little seal on it as well. You can see the red seal there. So that's it's like a kind of a fibre gasket I put on. Next job is I bought a new section. See this? This is the hose that goes over to the heater matrix, and it's quite perish looking, and it's Brickworks, a very good shop to go to if you're buying stuff for T25s, by the way. They sell this section here, right, which is literally just a repair section, which goes which replaces that much of it. I don't need to replace the whole thing, so this suits me absolutely fine. And this hose would be expensive because it goes all the way up to the heater matrix, well, the valve for the heater matrix up in the front of the van, and I'm happy enough just to replace the section that goes in the engine bay. And yeah, so what I have is it comes with this, and then you buy a joiner as well too, which is this lad here, and you basically cut the old section out, stick the new section in with a couple of Jubilee clips, and away you go. So let's get that done. Okay, so where are we now? Well, we have the coolant hoses on. They're all done, tight. It's actually ready to put coolant into now. We have the accelerator cable done, dipstick is in, the fuel pipe send and return, feed and return even, are both on. Injector runoff is on. All our intercooler ducting is done, breather ducting is done, the air inlet ducting done. That pipe there is for the gearbox, the gearbox vent, so I'm going to get a little filter for the top of that and just tie it off up the top. It just needs to be up out of the way. But the next thing really I need to do is just to put the harness in and see if it actually starts. What I think I'll do before I run the battery cable, I have to run a new battery cable over to, or main starter supply cable down to the starter from over here. I might just put the battery on the ground underneath and just crank it and see if it actually turns over freely anyway. First of all, just make sure everything is as it should be. That's another thing I need to do, is to connect up the servo vacuum connection. I just hope that those ducts are not going to get in the way of the connectors. I think they should be alright, but we may have to just move some things around a little bit. We can figure that out afterwards. This is the type of thing that we're up against, is trying to figure these type of things out bit by bit. So yeah, I'll just I'll connect to a battery and we'll just try cranking it anyway first of all. Okay, so just taking stock of what we got done today. I've just literally dropped the harness on top of the engine here, just to connect up a couple of things and just see how we're getting on. The engine is now turning over on the key. It's not starting yet, obviously. I haven't got there's a lot of stuff, like there's nothing else connected other than the starting motor, but that's another day's work, to be honest with you. I'm very happy with how much has been done today, and we're now at the point where we can put coolant in it, we can put power to it, start it up, see how it runs. There's a few things that need to be done, and one of the reasons I kind of decided to call it a day at this stage was because this throttle position sensor wiring is too bloody short. and it comes down to a connector down here. It's literally too short by about 4 inches. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to just throw my hat at it today and just leave it be. I'll be back at it again in another couple of days, and then that'll be the first thing on the agenda to put right. But battery is in, battery connector is there, so there's a new positive wire going off down there. It'll be cable tied in place and everything. It's going down to the starting motor down below. The old starting motor used to be over there, so the wiring would have been no use to me. So that's why I had to put a new wire in. That junction box there is going to go here, and ECU is plugged in. We have our earthing point there, which is great. There's a convenient earth, and I will put the OBD port there as well too. So to be honest with you, there's a day's work in connecting this up and getting it right in that respect anyway. And if I say it any other way, I'm lying to myself, because what'll happen is I'll end up rushing it, and the outcome won't be right. And I'm not accepting shortcuts on this project. Anyway, one of the other little things I had to do here, see this wire here, that's actually soldered onto one of the field windings in the alternator. And the old wiring in the van used to have a signal come from the alternator to give the speed signal for the engine. That's important in this instance because there's a dynamic oil pressure switch, that oil pressure switch there, and if I decide to add a rev counter, it means the wiring is there as well too. But that dynamic oil pressure switch means that if the engine's over 2000 RPM, a buzzer goes off to tell you basically stop immediately, you know, because you're about to kill the engine. I feel like I've actually accomplished a lot today now, so just basically a case of putting a finish to it, and then after that we need to look at connecting up everything on a gearbox, because the gearbox is just hanging there. There's nothing connected to it. There's no shafts, there's no linkage, there's no clutch, there's nothing. So that all has to be done. So I'm getting the engine right first. Once we have the engine right, then we'll worry about the gearbox, and then we can go from there. Anyway, look, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.